Okay, good afternoon, everybody. A very big welcome to the first in this most recent series of for race network leads and future leads. I'm Raj Tulsiani. I'm the CEO of Green Park and chairing today's meeting alongside Javid Thomas, who you've already heard from. I'm also a co-founder of Race Equality Matters. Today, the theme is more than 12 months on, what's changed? So you'll hear from some invested and fantastic speakers. There'll be some collaborative discussion groups, and you'll hear how you can stay in touch with each other after the event. We're looking to finish promptly with a final poll and close at 1:45. So to give you a bit of background quickly, Javid and I created Race Equality Matters in response to what he calls the moment last summer. I think we all experienced this kind of upwell of discussion and support and a need to do something around race equality. So we didn't want to look back and see that as the end, and that the summer of 2020 and some corporate black screens was the response. We wanted to help. We wanted to create powerful networks where people could help each other and move things forward, get past the chat and get into some action, hold leaders, shareholders, government accountable. So since then, we've been listening to our various groups, of which this is one, and co-creating potentially really impactful concepts and solutions, co-created with those who've got lived experience, with academics, with experts from different fields. So some of those we'll talk about today. They're all free to individuals. You know, we're not in it for, we're not in it for the love. We're in it to actually help create change. And I'm sure people have given up their time to be on this call will be there again. So we are a not-for-profit, and we aim to be a catalyst to move organisations and individuals away from talking and publicising corporate aspirations to meaningful actions that have a real impact. And critically, and this is why this group is so important, are co-created with people who've lived experience in the organisations. You know, can't cut and paste from next door. It doesn't work. Next slide, please. In fact, I can't even see the slides, so I'm not sure I've done that too well.
Yes.
Thank you. Right, so here are some of the solutions we've got. Race Equality Week, which we're hoping will touch between 2 and 3 million people this February. Safe Space, the Big Promise, Tea Break, and our new solution, My Name Is. So again, these are all free to be part of. Take what you can out of the research and development that's been put into it to help drive your own allies forward and your own organisations forward, and when needs be, your own career forward. So Javid will go into this, but this is our big national campaign that we're working on at the moment, which is around tackling a few microaggressions, starting with spelling people's or pronouncing people's names correctly. So I think Javid will go into that in a bit more detail, but we're expecting that to be a national campaign. And we've already got some good support from government. And because of what we've done in the last couple of years, we're able to hold government accountable. So I've really recently done some panels with the FCA and the PRA, and we were able to say to Tony Saul, who is a supporter of ours, why didn't you do a reaction when they said that there was no institutional racism in your report? You've got to stand up and say, well, this is the situation. So we're able to put that pressure on Tony. And because of that, we're able to have meaningful discussions with both business secretaries and Equality Secretary, Minister for Equality. Next slide. So none of this would be possible without the friends and family and partners who've actually put some hand in their pocket to fund what we're doing. So thank you to all of them, particularly our lifetime visionary partners at BT, who we'll be hearing more from later. And our founding partners at Aviva, the DMA and HS2. So their support means you can access these resources for free, powered by the collaboratory in Green Park, but we still are an NFP and very keen. So if there's anybody out there with any ideas around funding or an organisation that would like to get involved, please do get in touch to find out more, okay? Advert over. So through today's video, and then sending it out to people who can't be here today but requested it. We're expecting around 150 organisations to have this probably by the end of the week. So thank you for joining us. It's a good opportunity, and thanks for the support today. The majority of attendees are Race Network leads and Race Network members. We also have a few interested parties, including some from HR and diversity and inclusion departments, which is great for the collaboration. And collaboration is a really big piece here, because one of the reasons why we've done so badly around race in the last 10, 15 years is that organizations trying to do something around race just don't play nicely with each other. So there's lots of reasons for that. Everyone will have their own view, but we've developed this so it can aid and abet anything you're already doing with whoever you're already doing it with. So it's generally collaborative to power what you've really started to do in your organizations. As Race Network leads, you're just such an important stakeholder to drive this. And we know it's difficult. We know many of you are like talented amateurs, both got 2 jobs and this. So we've created this series of events to try and help and to try and create data, shortcuts, access to good products and good expertise elsewhere. So you're not on your own. You know, you're not that just piece of meat between the sandwich where you've got the corporate wanting everything to be changed single-handedly in the 7 hours a week they've allocated to you doing it with no budget. And then you've got all of the people in the network groups who want to see change immediately. We empathize. We don't have all of the answers in your organization, but we will share for nothing what we find out is going on really well, because it's critically important that our ethnic minority leaders start getting involved in these groups and they start seeing it as something that can create value in their own personal careers, but also how creating value and legacy in their roles it starts to get some status. And we know from our research that many of the people taking on these roles are not getting a great deal of thanks or status for it. So we want to say thank you. We want to say we're on your side. We want to say we're a resource. Next slide. So, oh, sorry, I need to go back a slide. So that's why we're going to provide you some support by holding these events bi-monthly on the topics that you want, bringing in speakers who are experts on those topics and sharing best practice on your agenda. And it won't be a talking shop. You know, we want you to learn, to network, to inspire and to be empowered, but we will also be bringing you things and asking you to co-create things. So we have a global learning and development provider who's approached us saying, we want to build a learning and development product just for network leads in our organization. So we said, well, we will co-create that with you if there's an interest in that from our network. And this network now is 750 strong. Okay, so today's session is going to be pretty fast paced and interactive. Slide, please. And we're going to start off with a quick poll. Okay, 69% of us are from an ethnic minority or whatever an appropriate equivalent is. Nice mix of what we do in the organization. So 38% race network lead, 12% future race network leads, 34% race network member, 17% an ethnic minority without an existing network. So we should do what we can to help those people. 11% HR and 40% from diversity and inclusion. Most of us here are in, well, that's quite interesting. So 50 members or less is the largest category of people here within their race network leads. You've got 9% at between 200 and 300, which is quite significant for active members. 9% of over 400 members. So I'm assuming there's some big companies here, but 11% don't have a network. So I think that's, again, quite telling. How well does your organization tackle race equality? So the big numbers here are not enough, 31% and a little 40%. So certainly room for improvement. So if there is sort of all you wonderful HR people on there on the call, we're not quite done yet. Most people, 45% have noticed a little bit of improvement, a little bit of change within your organization in tackling race equality, and 24% have a fair amount. So again, room for improvement, but quite a good litmus test on how people are feeling. Do you feel your leaders are committed to tackling race equality? 54% yes, which I think is high. 36% unsure, and only 9% no. Most people say their leaders are a little bit confident. So does your race network have support from senior leaders? 24% say a great deal and 28% say fair amount. So that's very different from when we did this time last year, when this was quite nascent in a lot of organizations. Do you feel your network has influence in your organization? 16% not enough, 29% a little, and most people, 38%, a fair amount. And then finally, why have you joined today's event? 86% of you are to be learned, to learn something. We're going to get straight onto that. 52% of you said to collaborate. That's up to you. 47% said to network and 65% to be inspired. So we're going to get onto the learning piece and hopefully the upskilling piece. And we're not pretending we have all of the answers, but we do want to share what's going out there that's been validated. And we do want to hear from people who are taking this journey in their organizations.
If I can now welcome our Race Network leads of our Lifetime Visionary Partners BET. We have Bernadette, who is the chair of BET's Ethnic Diversity Network and principal lawyer in the Customer Experience Legal team. We also have Marlon, who's a deputy chair of Ethnic Diversity Network, so the Ethnic Diversity Network, and he's also a D&I and transformational specialist and a senior HR manager. And we also have Prash, who's deputy chair of the Ethnic Diversity Network and a senior technology lawyer at BT. So thank you all three for joining us. Really pleased for you to be here today and take part. If you can kindly unmute yourselves. I've got first question for Bernie. The Ethnic Diversity Network at BT has been active and respected for quite a while, but over the last 18 months, the activity has accelerated. What have been the key activities you've implemented and what impact has it started to have? Bernie.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think the key factor for acceleration for us was the murder of George Floyd. There was obviously lots of things happening in our network and across BT, but that was a real turning point. And I think the key thing for our organisation was the Ethnic Diversity Network, in which I chair, and Marlon and Prash are deputies. We were really transformational, really, in spearheading conversations with our CEO at the time, Philip Jansen, about what was going on and how our Black colleagues were feeling and the emotional turmoil they were going through, trying to do their day jobs at work whilst everything was happening. And essentially that led to conversations around BT launching our Ethnicity Rapid Action Plan, which we were instrumental in actually determining and discussing with our senior leadership team as to what form of action they took, because we didn't want to be an organisation that just puts up a black square on Instagram or whatever and does nothing to really make a difference in response to the issues. So in terms of the Ethnicity Rapid Action Plan, there were 4 key parts to that. One is education. So we launched mandatory race training for all our workforce, and that was really fundamental, because through the listening conversations and all the conversations we were having actually throughout the organisation, we talked about many other things, gender, so forth, but it was very apparent that colleagues felt in some cases reluctant and sceptical talking about issues of race. So mandatory race training. We also implemented a talent acceleration programme specifically for ethnic minority colleagues, because like many other organisations, not much diversity at the lower ranks, at the higher ranks, and lots of diversity at the lower ranks. And then the other 2 key things we did, which we were instrumental on in terms of a network level, we launched a declaration campaign called I Declare Because, which was essentially a video campaign which we championed, which really inspired ethnic minority colleagues to declare their ethnicity data, which led to our organisation being able to publish voluntarily our ethnicity pay gap. And the last thing we did as a way to educate senior leaders is we implemented a reverse mentoring program. So I would say those were the 4 key strategic things that we delivered as a network together with the business to make a difference.
Brilliant, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'll come back in a sec. Prash, so Marlon, I apologise, sorry. Networks often are set up but do not thrive as hoped. How have you at BT gone about building an effective and impactful one?
Awesome. Thank you, Javid. Well, the EDN has continued to evolve since we were established in 1992. And back then, our purpose was to help promote and develop our professional image of our ethnic minority community. And what you find today is that we are much closer aligned to BT's purpose, BT's values and BT's goals to better serve our customers and our colleagues. And how we do that is that we definitely connect for good by being a voice of our racially diverse community. We are personal in all of our interactions, so we've also established creating psychologically safe spaces where everyone is included and feels that they belong and they're able to bring their true authentic self to the conversation. We've been simple in breaking down barriers and making sure that we are able to deliver on our ambitions. We've been brilliant in terms of being bold and pushing forward and overcoming all of our every interactions. And this has all been done through the support from our executive committee, our senior leaders as well. So we're all aligned to that single goal as well.
Brilliant, fantastic. And we'll talk about some of that in the discussion groups after, so thank you. Prash, network leads are a cornerstone to a network success. What do you believe it takes to be a successful network leader? And that's to Prash.
Thanks, Javid. And look, apologies in advance. I've got a bit of a cold, so excuse my my tone for this call. To my mind, I think it sort of falls into 3 categories, right? It's sort of accountability, being bold, and being resilient. And on accountability, you're responsible really for everyone in your network. And so that stems from, or that ranges from receiving a call from a new starter or a grad who's trying to navigate their way through issues that they're facing, right through to an ExCo member calling you on a Saturday morning to bounce around ideas for a Monday morning briefing. And each matter is important, for the whole network. And so accountability, or remaining accountable to everyone that you serve, I think is sort of step 1 on that journey. The second one is being bold. The last 12 months, the last 2 years have shown us that in order to influence real change, you need to be bold with your ambitions, and relentless with your pursuit of achieving them. We're trying to change a system that was sort of codified 400 years ago. And so I guess there's also that need to accept that change will take time. And then the final one, resilience. The change that you do want to see will take time. And so you'll have good days where you feel like you're moving forward at a pace that's in line with your ambitions. And then other days you feel like you're really not moving fast enough, or you're facing challenges or pushbacks or resistance really to changing a system that the world's been following for hundreds of years. And so my view is to remain resilient, talk to those in your network to sort of level things out when things don't go to plan, and start again the next day with a renewed set of enthusiasm, or enthusiasm towards that goal, to know that you're doing everything within your control to play your part in seeing the change that you want to see.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Echoes a lot of what others are sharing is needed, or they are being resilient. Bernie, from our research, senior leadership engagement is absolutely critical to impactful networks. It's been sort of like as clear as day, the difference it's making. Your network has close ties, like you mentioned, with BT senior leaders. How have you built relationships with them, and how do you ensure they remain engaged and, one of you said, accountable? Bernie.
Yeah, I mean, for that, my job is made easier because in BT, the senior leaders, so our ExCo members who take on the executive roles for our networks, they want to be involved and they want to be held accountable, and they understand at a business level, for our networks to be successful and drive meaningful change, they need to be involved. So actually my job's really easy, because the starting point is I'm working with members of the ExCo who want to be there, as opposed to forced to do something. So first of all, that's the easy step. But second of all, the way our ExCo leader describes it is, he works for us in our case, because we're the colleagues with the lived experience. We're the ones on the ground that are understanding the issues and the challenges, and our job and our responsibility is to present any issues and challenges to him, and he'll help unlock them, whether that's financial, whether it's process or policy. So it's really the fact that we've got someone on board who maybe not necessarily understands all the issues, but they have a willingness to understand, and they're absolutely prepared to understand, and they come to it with an open mind. They're not closed or defensive about issues. So I think for us, those are the keys in driving the relationship and making a difference. Having leaders who are not precious and are there to serve you in this scenario.
Brilliant. I think not closed and open is important. I think a benchmark down the line might be, I think the line you used, we work for you or here to support you. I wonder how many other organizations are able to say that, but I think it's a really good, clear differentiating factor from what I'm hearing from a lot of others. So thank you for sharing that, Bernie. A question for all three of you, and really briefly, because it's a hot topic that is brought up quite a lot, especially in the last 12 months. I think Bernie, you've referred to, since the George Floyd murder. It's been extremely difficult in the race space, especially for Black colleagues and race network leads and co-leads. So how do you look after and support your own well-being? Bernie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, really quickly, it's just, being able to speak to other colleagues, so Marlon and Prash, and bounce ideas off. But more importantly, it's managing my well-being. So BT has a whole range of well-being resources. I join their mindfulness calls, and that's really helpful. But aside from that, it's taking regular breaks from work, going on holiday. I know that's been curtailed a little bit because of the pandemic, but just switching off from the day job, going for walks, and just doing whatever that activity is that you enjoy. So that's for me, separating the work and enjoyment outside of work.
Thank you. And Prash, how do you look after and support your own well-being?
Well, do you know what's really funny is I've written down exactly what Bernie has just said. But that I suppose emphasizes the point, doesn't it? In the sense that, keeping talking to each other, I think, is key. And we're super lucky. I'm so lucky to work with Bernie and Marlon. We've got, a fantastic relationship on dealing with really difficult issues, but we've also got a huge committee and a number of allies who are with us on the journey, some of whom are on this call, and actually having that support network around you is really important, just to sort of take the edge off things, to talk about things that, might distract you from the key or core issues for a period of time, so you can come back with a sort of refreshed outlook and start again. But keep talking and listening and support one another through whatever challenges you might face.
That's great, thank you. And we'll share with everyone later, we'll be introducing an organisation called the Guild that provides a platform where we can support each other. Yeah, that'll come later. And finally, to Marlon, how do you look after yourself and your own well-being?
I remind myself that I'm blessed and highly favoured. I've got an awesome wife at home, 3 kids, awesome community of people around me inside and outside of work. And I just continue to keep my mind on the prize and why we're doing this. So I'm led by my why. And I just always remember that we have many ups and downs, but I remember that joy also comes in the morning. So I just continue to keep a positive mindset in my continued actions.
I love your background, just to say that. And I don't know if you know, it's color coded with your abacus, but I'll leave that with you, okay? Thank you all three, really, really valuable. And I know they'll join some other groups in the discussions. And that leads us on to the next bit. So we mentioned this is to be interactive. And now we have a great opportunity for you all to collaborate amongst yourselves and learn what works. So in a minute, you'll automatically be placed into your first breakout room between 6 and 8 people for a quick, and the emphasis on quick, 8-minute discussion. This will not be recorded, so you'll be, it'll be sort of Chattermouse rules there. It will be quick, it'll be dynamic, but hopefully you get a wealth of great suggestions to help you all going forward. We suggest someone volunteers as a chair to enable everyone to have a say, and someone else keeps track of time. You've got a few seconds each in a sense. We recommend that you take yourselves off mute and go straight into discussion and don't make introductions, because obviously, hopefully most of us, we can see our names, but we want to use the best use of time. So the first discussion, picking up, well, I guess the theme, so more than 12 months on, what has changed for the better in your organization? We know a lot hasn't changed and it's been frustrating, but this is what has changed for the better. So in your groups, hopefully we'll hear a few things that have been done. So what we're going to do before we introduce our next speaker, Davina from Croydon Council, to share their journey, what we'd like to do is go into another breakout group, again, picking up on something that was important BT mentioned, is senior leaders. So we're going to go straight into another breakout group, 7 or 8 minutes. And you'll be with different people this time. How can you engage senior leaders so you can elevate, or they can support the work you are doing? So how can you engage, or how have you been engaging senior leaders? Again, we want this to be a positive thing. So what will make a difference and impact? We appreciate some of you may be able to answer it and some not, but if you can just go in your groups and share thoughts and ideas, that'd be fantastic. We'd like to introduce our next speaker, Davina, who's the chair of Croydon Council's Race Equality Network for Staff. Davina's also held the position of vice chair and chair at 2 other local authorities, and is also a project officer, so a lot of experience here. A project officer for commissioning and improvement resources department. So Davina, a huge thank you for joining us today. If you can unmute yourself, please. And if the Zoom can go on to Davina, that'd be fantastic. So you became the chair towards the end of 2020, really eventful year. What has changed since then?
Yes, well, I was elected as a chair in June 2020. So it was actually right after the murder of George Floyd and in the midst of the Black Lives Matter protest. So for me, the focus shifted from more of, a network where you might come together to socialize, into more of how can we make a strategic impact within our organisation. So the network, we have a steering group, so we came up with a work plan, and obviously we kind of we lean on the strength of our membership and what the members want to see. So within that work plan, again and again, it kept coming up about career progression and the difficulties that people face. So we kind of worked in collaboration with Learning and Development to come up with a diverse interview panel training where we could set up and have a pool of people who are ready to be on all the panels for interview throughout the organisation. So we had about 50 staff been trained up for that. So that was one of the main changes since that time.
Brilliant, great, thank you. And I also understand you've changed the name of the network. Why was that, and how did you go about it?
That's right, yes. We were previously called the BAME Staff Network, and we held a hard truth discussion session, which was titled Don't Call Me BAME or BME. And it was a very lively discussion around the acronym. And the census was that members, they just felt that we should go by a different name. So this name suggestions were submitted. We placed a vote on Yammer, and then the winner was Race Equality Network. So in January of this year, we relaunched, we changed all of our branding and our inbox, and we now go by Race Equality Network. Brilliant.
I think it's such a hot topic, and I can imagine how energetic that meeting was. So thank you for sharing that. And I know lots of other organizations are looking at that as well. So I thought, thank you for sharing. What sort of activities, you mentioned, you touched upon a couple of, have you been running since you took over, and what's the impact been?
Yeah, so I mentioned the hard truths, and we've had various topics for that, covering mental health, colorism, the George Floyd legacy, and the male perspective, because we wanted to hear more from the men within our network. We've also had a lot of guest speakers. So we've had Selena Boyd, who's the founder of Coco Girl and Coco Boy magazine. We've had the owner of all the McDonald's franchises within Croydon to come in and give a business talk. we do book and film clubs. And for book club, we've read books such as The Impressionists and Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. And for the film club, just to give you an idea, we've watched things like When They See Us and The Five Bloods, which is a Chadwick Boseman movie. We've also had events around taking control of your own narrative, because our organisation's been going through some really difficult financial times. And we've had Croydon Credit Union come in to talk about savings loans. And lastly, we do voices sessions now, which we discuss current affairs that are impacting our members. For instance, like the Euros 2020 and the racial abuse followed.
Brilliant, thank you. And so it's worth, if people are interested, go onto our site and download Tea Break guide, and that will echo how Davina and that would have run their discussion groups. It's called Tea Break. But
I'm going to get into Tea Break. Yeah. Okay,
fantastic. Thank you. So I know people are asking. They're very interested, Davina. How have you run your session? So do that. What have you noticed to start changing in the organisation through all these activities?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Through all of these activities, you know, we started to get noticed from our executive leadership team. So they approached us to run a tea break session. And the topic that we went for was career progression, because it keeps coming up time and time again. So we run it as kind of like a webinar. We ask members to submit questions in advance. The senior leadership did not get to see the questions before the session. It was just the network steering group, just so we could be organised on the day. It was a really, really powerful session. We also asked staff to submit testimonies about the barriers that they faced while trying to progress their career. And I think that really helped to set the scene and give people like who might not have had knowledge of that, really let them know this is what people are going through. From that, a list of actions have come out of that. So we will be setting up a talent pool, and we'll be doing some of the reverse mentoring and doing things like coaching and interview skills.
Brilliant, fantastic, thank you. And being a chair is a voluntary role and requires a lot of your time. How do you juggle this and your day job, and more importantly, look after your own well-being?
Yeah, I think, well, for me, luckily, I've got a really great exec team within the network. So we have a vice chair, a secretary, and a vice secretary. So we kind of lean on each other for support, a bit like colleagues were saying earlier, and bounce ideas off of each other, help with planning and organising. For myself, you know, it's really helped me to become more organised. I now colour code my calendar and time block my work tasks. But I also practice a lot of self-care. I realise it is important to take time out for yourself. I have an exercise routine, and my love of reading has increased again through the book club.
Yes, no, thank you for sharing. It's quite a responsibility being a Race Network lead. Why should others consider it?
For me, I would say that it's a great opportunity to enhance your skills. As I've mentioned, I've definitely become more organised through this. And, you know, you get to chair meetings, you get to meet people across the organisation that you might not have met otherwise. And for me, that's the best part of it. And also, it's a good learning curve. You find out lots of information, things you never knew about. And we're lucky, we get a lot of positive feedback from our network members. And it's that, you know, it's that feedback that really keeps us going and keeps me motivated to, you know, continue in this role.
Brilliant, thanks for sharing. I think you mentioned it and others about, you know, talent progression. I think it's a real good chance to develop skills, like you said, and you know, it's evidence of what you can and are capable of. And chairing a network is not easy. So if you can do that, I think you can do anything. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Davina. Our final collaboration group, which you're going to go into, is, you know, Davina's touched upon it, and also our colleagues from BT. How do you manage your own self-care and resilience? So if we go into, if Nish will put you all into groups, we'll have about 7 or 8 minutes there. Just share how do you look after yourselves, because it's been such a hot, important topic, and we know a lot of people have struggled over the year. So if Nish can put everyone into their groups, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. we'd like to introduce our partners at Guild, where we can carry on this conversation and build additional connections after this event. So I'm now delighted to introduce you to Viv, who's head of customer success at Guild, and she'll explain how. So Viv, thanks for joining us. And if you can introduce the Guild, thank you.
Absolutely. So can we skip to the next slide? So it's really lovely to meet everyone. I've been working with Javed for a little while now, and we run the Tea Break community, as he's already mentioned. So Guild is a professional community platform. So we're a space for professionals to come together and discuss all sorts of things. But the important thing, I think, in the context of Race Equality Matters is we're a safe and secure space. So we're entirely GDPR compliant. We don't have any ads. We don't have any sales tools. So all of those things that kind of get in the way of good, proper conversations and connections are taken away on the Guild platform. It's just a nice, easy place where you can connect with one another and have conversations. And it's really quick to register and really simple to use. So if we can move to the next slide. And you know, I'm listening to the conversations you're having here today, and there's just so much to talk about, and there's so much amazing knowledge and experience and support available here. So everything about the Guild community is for you guys to get together and be able to continue to support each other so you can keep taking positive action, you know, asking questions, sharing inspiration, really making the space your own, where you can just have those conversations and build a network of support for yourselves. So just in terms of how that works, if we can just skip to the final slide. So it's really easy to join Guild. You receive an invite from Race Equality Matters after this session, and that will just be a link. You can join via mobile or via a desktop. Either way is really simple. Just click the link. You'll be asked to register for Guild, which takes about 90 seconds, and then you'll be taken straight through into the Race Network Lead group. If you haven't downloaded the mobile app straight away, it's the best experience. So I would urge you to do that. But, you know, the desktop is great if you're writing quite long messages. And then once you get in there, you're going to find a load of information already in there, and we'll post information on how you can use Guild to get the most of it. But we'd ask you to complete your profile, introduce yourself to the group, and then just get to know each other and start conversations and start chatting. I think there's going to be lots of questions from this, lots of topics brought up. So should be a lot of ways for you to get engaged with one another and start sharing your inspiration.
Brilliant. Thank you. And we will send the link after this. And a big thank you to Guild. They're providing this platform for us to use as Race Equality Matters with yourselves for free. And so you know, we don't have to pay, and yourselves don't have to pay on that. But I think, you know, it's really important. There's an opportunity here for this race network community to join and support each other. And again, any key issues that are coming up there, you know, we will then put into the content down the line, and also we will share solutions and things like that. So thank you very much for that, Viv. So if I can hand you back to Raj now to go towards a wrap up. Raj. I think while Raj is coming through on his mic, if we can go into a final poll.
Okay, so the first question we asked was, would you recommend today's event to others? 97% said yes. For the three of you who are not sure, if you've got 3% of you that are not sure, please do give us some feedback. We are here to help everyone if we can. 98% of you said it was helpful hearing from the network lead speakers. So thank you for all of our speakers today. There's some validation for you putting the time aside to help. We do appreciate it. 88% thought the discussion groups were insightful. 78% of you, I've never had this before, 79% thought that it was the right length of the event, but 19% of you said it was too short. So I can assure you, Javed and I have never had we've never had that response before.
I think this will be our first encore, Raj.
Yeah, and two of you fit into our normal feedback, which is it's too long. Did this event deliver on any of the following for you? So this is really important. 9%, only 9% said they got good networking out of it. So please do use the Guild platform. 17% said they've got some collaboration. That's good feedback for the network group, for the breakout groups. 45% of you said you had learning, so that's positive as well. Only so much we can do for free in an hour, but feedback is a gift, so we choose to accept it and unwrap it. Do you think this series of events will enable race networks to have greater influence? Well, I'm very happy to say that 74% of you said a good amount or a great deal. So that's really very positive from our perspective. That, again, if you do have feedback, please do take the time to share it with the team. You know, we don't have all the answers, but we do have a lot of motivation and access to a great many experts. So speaking of experts, we have some more events coming up over the next few months. The next event in this series will be from Dr. Carl George, who's one of our founding partners in minority-owned business called the Governance Forum. And Carl is the power and brains behind the Race Equality Code, where you'll get some insights into what makes race networks impactful. The event will also be sponsored by one of our new partners, Auto Trader. So a huge thank you to them for their support. They will also be sharing how their network is making a difference. If your organization would like to sponsor future events, please do get in touch. As we build this program, we will always be on the lookout for great speakers and impactful networks to feature. So please, do be interactive with us. If you know any, please let us know, or if it's something that you might want to aspire to in the future, please talk to us and we can tell you how you might be able to build up enough momentum and credibility to get on that list. We'll share a link to the event in the following follow-up email. In October, we also have some workshops to introduce you to our solutions, the Big Promise, Tea Break, and Safe Space. These solutions we know from feedback that they're really good tools to use in and for Race Equality Week, which leads us nicely to our next slide on Race Equality Week. So our target this year is to affect 2.5 million ethnic minorities in the workplace positively. So it's coming up on the 7th and 13th of February. As I said, it works well with everything else it's been doing. It's not taking anyone's space. It's not taking anyone's funding. It's there to empower and accelerate change, regardless of where you are and what you're doing. It's a week where we know thousands of organizations will take part in activities to drive race equality. Do think and start planning how your organization and network will take part. There's a countdown event on the 16th of November if you need some guidance or inspiration. But this is a safe space we're creating to allow the agenda to have space for pause and reflection and look at what's done and look at what's made a difference. So the conversations today around what's actually changing, how quickly are organizations able to take this on board is very important. A huge thank you to our speakers, Bernadette, Marlon, and Prash from BT, and Davina from Croydon Council, and to all of our supporters. So, thank you for your time. Do carry on the conversation on Guild. I'm wishing you all a purposeful Black History Month. And finally, please do remember, we can't change the past, but united we can do something about the future. Let's not go back to normal. Thank you.